Coming back from that short commercial break, it's a podium to be back every single Monday from 10 p.m. to midnight as we preview and review your name in the world of motorsport. On the line, we have Eric Bengi. His first time to appear on this show. He's a Kenyan Rally Driver. He was part of those ones who officiating that event over the weekend, the 71st WRC Safari Rally 2024 yabadde in Naivasha. And to me, tugenda kwata wayamukona then definitely ajja kwatuli awo alabe safari then probably his rallying career because he's so much into rally cross of late. Hello Eric, good evening.
Good evening, Kesh. How are you?
I'm okay. You're live on Fufa TV as well as on 102.1 Fufa FM. I'm requesting you to say hello to our listeners and viewers.
Thank you very much for having me on Fufa TV.
All right, Eric, in a nutshell, you can run us through your motorsport biography.
Okay, my journey starts from the year 2010, and that's when I did my first event. This is, we call it a quattro charge. I found it to be a little too slow, and I graduated to Rally Raid, and I did that in seasons 2011, 2012, and a bit of 2013. I needed a little bit more speed, and so I had tried a few other events like autocross in a borrowed car, but I felt that rally was my space, and that's how I ended up buying a Toyota Runex, a two-wheel drive. That was in 2013. And in 2016, I won the two-wheel drive championship. By then, I'd learned a little how to drive. And in 2018, I graduated to the Group N category. And we won the championship that time in the famous Subaru N12. It was a fantastic car, a very well balanced car that I really enjoyed. We also won the Division 1 championship that year, and I graduated to the Premier Division. That was in 2019, and my trouble started with the Mitsubishis. Good cars, yes, but didn't really perform in my hands well. I got a second Mitsubishi, then COVID struck, and we had to change tact, and Motorsport had been put down at that time. We couldn't do much. And then from 2021, my children were also growing up, and I decided to spend a little bit of time with them in autocross. And that is where we have been playing in the last 3-4 years. The last 2 years, we won the autocross championship. And then at the same time, a very interesting event started in Kenya called RX. RX, or rather Rallycross, is an event where you put up to 6 cars on the track, and you say, may the best man win. In my team category last year, we won the championship as well. So basically, in short, that has been my short journey.
Yeah, you talked about winning the Group N championship in the N12. Is that the one that is apparently you're gonna bring driven by Mike Mukola Jr.?
That is the car.
That's the car. Okay, so you've driven the Mitsubishi, you've driven the Evo 10, rather you've driven the Mitsubishi and as well as the Subaru. Any comparisons and contrasts in there?
Yeah, the Mitsubishi is a very good car. I have nothing against it. Much easier to handle than the Subarus. I would actually say it is much faster. But again, in rally cars, we say it really depends on your luck. After the Mitsubishi Evo 10, I bought a Mitsubishi Evo 9, which I use in autocross and RX, and it has been a fantastic car. Very light car, very nimble, very good control, and yeah, I've won two championships in the same year with it. So my take would be really, when it comes to a car, really depends on the driver preference. Maybe I might be going to another Subaru in a few years. It's a thought that has crossed my mind. Yeah, and depends on which event you are doing. For the very tight and tricky stages, you need a car with better traction, and I would actually say that's a Mitsubishi. For very rough stages like Kenya, Kenya Rally, a Subaru is a much more hardier car than the Mitsubishi. It can withstand a lot more impact than the Mitsubishis can. So really depends on your driving style, depends on driver preference.
Okay, thanks for that clarity. Then we've seen over the years, the last couple of years, we've seen a decline or a dwindle in the number of entries that do the Kenyan National Rally Championship. What do you attribute that to, and what could be the remedies, given that the fact that you've competed in that championship and you have huge experience regarding rallying in Kenya?
Well, it's very unfortunate that this has happened to Kenya. When I started rallying, in my first event in the National Rally Championship, I was car number 84.
Car number 84?
I should tell you.
Wow.
84. There were so many entries that year. That was the year 2012. Over the years, we barely, right now we barely get even 10 entries. 10 entries is a good number in the last few events. Now, the thing to note is that most of those 75 or 84 cars, they're still lying somewhere in the garages. Those cars are not yet scrap, but people are not using them. I would attribute that to two main reasons. One, yes, budgets have been a little bit high, and the way we have been organizing our events, I wouldn't really say it is the best way to do it, considering that you need to be very sensitive about the budget. The driver spends a lot of money to get the car moving. If we make it much more expensive in terms of logistics, it doesn't really help. For instance, and if I may give an example, you'll find that about 75% of the drivers are resident in Nairobi and the environs. When you have an event in Mombasa, that is 500 kilometers away, or Kisumu, you'll find very, very, very few people taking up that challenge, because when you look at the logistics, it will take you 2 days of traveling, or 2 or 3 days of traveling. You need your service crew there. So logistically, that becomes very, very, very expensive. Again, when we hold events for 2 days, it becomes a little bit challenging because the budgets have to go high. So that is one factor that I would really attribute to the decline in the entries. But the major factor has been mismanagement of motorsports. It's very unfortunate because there's really been no incentive for the competitor. There has been very, very little support, even from the federation and the government, to the competitors. And we are just lonely rangers. You find your way, you get your way. If you don't have any support, or you cannot keep on supporting it yourself, then it becomes a little bit too hard. There have been very, very few sponsors in Kenya, or people or sponsors who have been willing to take up on the sport, and majorly because of their past experience with the organizers and some of the competitors. For instance, some group had been sponsored by a local supermarket a few years ago, and it was very disappointing that half the money went into the wrong way. Similarly, a company like Shell used to sponsor events here, and unfortunately, we bungled it up. So over time, out of the frustration of the competitors, there has been very little inspiration to get the cars onto the event. So that has been our situation. We are looking at ways and means of, redeeming ourselves, which we really have to. We don't have an option if we want rally for the future.
Okay, then let's get into the discipline of rallycross. It's picked up a lot of traction in Kenya. What has been some of the attributes that has led to the huge number of people turning out for such events? Because I even talked to Bob Kaugi in the Kedong Stage. He's one of the champions you guys have out there in rallycross.
You see, the beauty about rallycross is that one, it's a very, very entertaining event. Entertaining in the sense that you get to see the real action as it is. 6 cars on the track, all of them at the same time. Mixed road surface, both tarmac and gravel. Everybody jostling to get their, space ahead of the other one. Managing your driving style to, get the best lines and to get the best speeds. So it's an event that is both thrilling and entertaining for the driver as well as for the audience. Secondly, we have very many categories in RX. We have the kids category, which we call the Cubs category. We have the 2-wheel drive category. We have the 4-wheel drive category. And then we also have the team event. So there's actually something for everybody. And the other very beautiful thing we have done about RX is that in the team event, in a team, you must have a champion. You must have a legend, that is, somebody who has been in the sport for long, at least age 45 plus. You must have a junior, less than 30 years, and you must have a lady. That brings in everybody across board, the young, the old, the champions, and everybody. And it is a whole family outing. And then the other very interesting thing about it, it's a build-up of heats running from Saturday. You start with the group heats until you get to the semis and the finals on Sunday. So you have a weekend full of action. Then the other very good thing about rallycross is that it is a closed circuit event, give or take maximum about 2 kilometers track, repeated 4 to 6 times. And that, you see, brings in a lot of, it's very sensitive to the costs. You are running within a very small space over and over again. In terms of logistics, it is something that you can manage within a very small space. You don't need your service crew traveling for a very long distance. So the costs are also very, very friendly there. So that is why I think everybody is looking towards RX.
Okay, then let's talk about the Kenya Safari Rally. Took place in Kenya in 1953. This was the 71st event, 71st event taking place in Kenya. What has been the impact of the WRC getting back to Kenya? Of course, there was that disappearance in a spell of 19 years. Then it got back. You guys had a candidate event, successful one in 2019. So you've had the event in 2021, 22, 23. even just over the week. What has been the impact of the event in Kenya? Maybe it can be economy, sports-wise, and infrastructure development.
First and foremost, I think Safari has been very, very instrumental in elevating our tourism. It has brought in a lot of, it has put Kenya in the world map in terms of tourism because of the kind of shots even the Safari Rally is able to pick from there. I know you most have probably seen antelopes jumping across the road. Zebras were blocking one of the competitors 2 days ago, and that visual gives a sense of being in the remote savannas of Africa that everybody looks forward to, and I think it has relived that moment. Secondly, in terms of economic growth, Naivasha has been the hub of a lot of hospitality development in the last 4 or 5 years. And in terms of economic impact, it has been very, very huge. In fact, I think the last measure that was done in WRC 2023, there was a cash turnover of about Kenya shillings 7 billion within Naivasha only. That's a very, very big sum. So from that perspective, I think we've done very well. But on the other side, we've also done very, very poorly because many hotels have not been paid for the last 2 years, and that has really put a lot of people out of business. Secondly, in terms of personal growth to the business people around that environment, and with the freezing of their payments, that has ended up being a nightmare for many of them. Then the other thing we expected was that WRC would elevate motorsports in Kenya. Unfortunately, it has not. The WRC event is quite expensive, even from a regulatory point of view. And just to give you an example, for you to participate in the WRC event, you must comply with the WRC regulations, one of which you must buy the approved tires. Let's say you need 20 tires. They come at a premium price, and you find that you go into a very huge expense. Secondly, the cars that are permitted to participate in the WRC events are the homologated cars. So the least you can have is the currently homologated Group Ends. That is Mitsubishi Voten upwards, and the Subaru N14s and maybe N12s. I'm not sure. I think for the N12s, their homologation has expired. So you see, there are so many limitations, and these are things that we didn't know about at that point. And the national category event, we have not done very well on that because we ran them half the stages. Since most of the stages are repeated, we only ran them after the WRC cars have done their second pass. So they end up, the local contenders end up doing only half the event. So, and from an expense point of view, it's much more expensive than the other national races. So you find that when people do their budgets, they are not very happy with that. Then, unfortunately, I don't think we have given the Kenyan drivers the recognition that would inspire them to participate in more WRC events. And it's a shame that we did not even support our last year's national champion into Safari Rally. So again with a bit of boardroom issues in our federation, it has not been smooth sailing at all. So this has ended up dampening the mood and the interest for WRC, especially for the competitors in Kenya. And that's why we are seeing very, very few numbers. So it's what it is. We need to pick up our pieces and see what we can do moving forward.
Okay, then my last question to you for today's interaction is, there's much talk about the event being shifted away from Naivasha to somewhere else, Nyanyuki or somewhere else. Have you heard of such news, and what could be the impact of that?
Well, I am not sure about that because WRC highly depends on the promoter. The main reason the event has been held in Naivasha for the last 4 years is because Naivasha gives you, a very wide perspective of Kenya. Number one, and what is very interesting for the promoter in WRC Safari is the unpredictability of the event and the road conditions. And that makes it one of the toughest rallies in the World Rally Circuit. The fact that Naivasha has very soft volcanic soils that break down very easily, with rains coming in at any time, makes it even more interesting for from the promoter's perspective. Secondly, the vast lands in Naivasha and the sanctuaries in the environs make it even better for for the marketing of the event by the promoter. Look at a place like yes, you are more likely than not to find wild animals crisscrossing the road. You'll catch them on camera. You'll catch them along the way. That makes it very, very interesting for the marketing of Safari Rally and for the promoter as well. So I don't know. I am not sure whether the event will move from there. There was that talk a few years ago. I don't think Nanyuki would give us that kind of diverse environment to do the WRC. Yes, there are spaces there, but there's something interesting about Naivasha. Maybe the better thing might be to make it a little bit longer, hold it in 2 or 3 counties. I mean, in other countries, they hold it as far away as 400, 500 kilometers from the start. So maybe we can look at that option. But personally, I don't know. I don't know what is the plan for next year.
Okay, we first go in for a short commercial break. Then we get back, ask you 2 follow-up questions. The first one, you give us your perspective about the event. How did you see the battle between the Ford, the Hyundais, and the Toyotas? Then also, I'm here with Enoch Olinga, a renowned co-driver in Uganda with Aaron Nsamba. They too have a question for each, a question for you. We definitely respond to that and after this short commercial break. Let's get back after this short commercial break, and then we'll interact with you with that last segment.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back from that short commercial break. It's a podium. To be back every single Monday from 10 p.m. to midnight as we preview and review. We're never in the world of motorsport. Prior to that break, we're going to call Eric Bengi, a renowned Kenyan driver, digesting a lot regarding Kenyan motorsport, specifically the Derasi Safari Rally, which was the 71st happening in Kenya. And prior to that, of course, we're to Mugambe in the last segment, but he's still online. Hello, Eric, you still there?
Yes, I'm here, Kesh.
All right, thanks for staying on the line. Two follow-up questions. The first one is, you give us your take on how you saw the performance of the different teams, Ford, Hyundai, the Toyota as well, even the call them the P2 cars or the Derasi 2 cars. The only thing that I didn't pick which team you support, so maybe you first tell me which team you support, then you give us your analysis, because you might have inclinations in a certain team which didn't perform.
For sure, I have a team that I support. As you saw, I was driving a red Toyota pickup.
Okay, give us your take on the event.
For this event, I was actually rooting for Takamoto.
Yeah.
I was supporting him to win this event, and I think he did very, very, very well. Now, my analysis for the three main teams in WRC1, that is Toyota, Hyundai, and Ford, I would say as follows. Number one, I think Hyundai made some very serious mistakes because they went for the win on the second day. From the first day, actually, and they were pushing a little bit too hard. This is Safari Kenya. Anything can happen. You put your wheel 1 foot off the track, and for sure, you should expect trouble. Toyota team was very consistent, if I may say so, and very cautious. If you saw like Kasarani stage, it was the Hyundais who were on top. Toyota were just behind there. But come on the second day, I think Calais had mastered what to do, where to put his wheels, and how to, control the race, and he won all the stages on Friday. Now, let's go to Ford. Ford is a team that we have not been seeing on top in the last few years, but it's a space to watch. We need to be very, very cautious. They are very talented young drivers who many of us feel like they're underdogs, but they can give us a lot of surprises. Particularly Ford drove exceptionally well, very consistently in all the spaces. Monster is picking up. I think this is first season in WRC1, and he was doing exceptionally well. So let us not write them off. The team to watch is actually Ford. So Toyota and Hyundai needs to be on their toes. Now let's go to WRC2 cars. Again, the contest was between the Fords, which are very many. The Ford, the Skoda, and the Hyundai. Very few Hyundais were in the race in WRC2, which is understandable. They have not been producing very many, but it is a car that looked very consistent and looked very, very powerful. In fact, from the sound of it, I think it sounds to be like the most powerful car. Now, the Fords, and please pass my, I'm very, very sorry for what happened to Ugandan champ, NASA. Yasin.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate. I know we were the same spot waiting to see his second pass, which did not happen. I did not want to dampen your spirits because we had already had it on radio. It's so unfortunate. Similarly, it happened to Nikhil, and this guy is a complete write-off. Karan as well, I think, had an incident in the same stage, and he completely broke his suspension. As he also had, this also broke his arm. I don't know what was there, whatever they were hitting. It was not very good. Anyway, the Fords were doing very, very well in WRC2, but the Skodas seems to be a little bit faster. From the grapevine, I hear that actually from the drivers who have driven both cars, they say that the Skoda is actually a quicker car, much nimbler, maybe more developed than the Fords and the Hyundais. Yeah, and it was a 1-2 for the Talksport team. But quite interesting. Maybe we need a few more Fords or a few more challenging drivers to give them a run for their money. But all in all, the event was very, very good, and especially watching it on the front line, I think it was very exciting.
Okay, Enoch has a question for you. Yeah, Enoch, go right ahead.
Good evening, Eric. Very nice to have you on the show with us. So I just have one last question in relation to Rallycross, because we know right now the agenda is looking quite positive in terms of trying to promote Rallycross in Kenya. So my question is, what are the plans for the future looking like in terms of pushing the sport forward, and is there any plan to try and see if you can get it on the World Rallycross circuit as well?
Rallycross is still very young in Kenya, but I think the plans are very, very big. When I spoke to Flash last year, there were plans to invite Oliver Sobak to come and compete with us and teach us a few tricks here and there. As you know, he is an ex-Rallycross champion. Yes. So that would be a very, very good thing, and it would really boost us. And what we are looking forward to is an opportunity to compete also at the top level, because we have seen the youngsters and the kids that we have. They are exceptional drivers. So hopefully one day we can push them to that level and elevate RX to, a world championship round in Kenya, hopefully.
Okay, that does sound like really, really positive plans, and definitely, as drivers in the region, we shall try and see how we can be able to support the program, because what is good for Kenya initially is good for the whole region. So yeah, we shall try and see how to keep on supporting RX.
In fact, early in the year, I had a word with your chairman at the prize giving, and we were talking of how we can integrate, an East African competition to, push each other up. And with that kind of competition, we can, we can gauge where to improve and how to also improve on the regional sport. So it's something that we can look into and see how to better ourselves as a region.
Okay, Eric, thank you very much for sparing time and joining us. It's really, really a pleasure. I had a very, very good interaction with you in the Kedong stage. And maybe a question, any chances of us seeing you in another 5 in the near future?
Well, I'm looking at the budgets. In fact, after I officiated this event, the back bit even harder. I would really love to go back to the sport, but at a priority level. Looking forward to it as well.
Okay. But in terms of competing in Uganda, you have the Evo X. The Pearl of Africa is upon us in May. Do you mind if you came and gave these guys a run for their money?
That is in my bucket list. If before I retire, I'll ensure that I'll come and do a big event in Uganda. I was there last year and we did the
26th
what do you call it?
Boxing Day
The
sprint.
sprint on 26th of December. But I would still want to do another event in Uganda. The fans there are awesome. You know, I feel more Ugandan than Kenyan because I have more fans in Uganda than Kenya. So that should give you a clear answer.
Okay.
Okay, you're welcome anytime in Uganda. But thanks very much, Eric, for sparing some time and joining us. And it's really, we really picked a lot from you. More so when it came down to figures, you saying that it's 7 billion shillings is what was left in Naivasha. Which is that 2022 or 2023?
2023.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. It felt very, very, very painful. And I can imagine what is going through his head right now.
Yes,
Let's hope that we're able to get back on track and get another car running. And just to wrap it up, to all the fans in Uganda, we love you so much from here. I know you came in more than 10 buses. And thank you once again. And just to report, the group that you are with in Kedong stage was very well behaved.
Yeah.
So again, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best. We'll definitely talk to you in the near. We'll definitely talk to you in the near future.
Thank you so much, Kesh.
Okay.